while that is happening, at the same time that we're letting convicted criminals and people awaiting trial out of prison over COVID-19, we are arresting people and putting them in jail, or they're facing time in jail as well because of COVID-19. We have those.
They want to go to church just because they want to freedom of religion.
Oh, all right. So, hey, this is Greg Hoyt, and I'm here with the awesome John Buddah, based out of now in Goodyear, Arizona.
Yeah,
used to be in Phoenix. Stand-up comedian, really funny guy. Gets a little bit of pushback from the politically correct folks now and then, but overall, that's a good thing. If you're not offending folks, you're not saying the right stuff. So, give me the elevator pitch yourself, man. Buddah, tell us what you're all about.
Well, pretty much like you pretty much covered it and nailed it. I'm a stand-up comedian from Phoenix, originally from California, Huntington Park, which is about 20 minutes south of downtown LA, and moved here in '82. My mother, she was like, my grandmother was the matriarch of our family, and pretty much, so my mother wanted the independence, so she flipped the coin on a map, and it landed on Phoenix. We came out here on Amtrak back in the day. That was quite a few years ago, obviously, and this is what I call home now, away from the liberal capitals like New York and LA and all those other places, probably Chicago too, I imagine. I love LA. I mean, I love Arizona. LA's fun. Don't get me wrong. I kind of like LA, but it's just, I don't know what they're thinking out there. You know how it is. You've seen the news. They're just, it drives me nuts sometimes,
Yeah.
I'm doing comedy since 2003. And, I've probably been always a natural comedian. My friends, oh shit, I got the smoke. I'm not on fire over there, by the way. You see the smoke. My friends told me, you should be a comedian. He told me this in like 1991 or something. And I'm like, what are you, retarded, dude? I make you knuckleheads laugh. What am I going to tell mama jokes on stage? And I'm not going to do all that. But now, here I am all these years later, sometimes making people laugh. Most of the time pissing people off.
Hey, no, I get it. I wholeheartedly understand. I remember when I was doing stand-up comedy over in the Phoenix area, and one of the biggest reasons why I actually kind of distanced away from it, it wasn't so much like, the performing or the doing the shows or anything like that. It was really more along the lines of the people that I was, forced to be around and working with. It was really more along the lines of like doing the open mics and stuff like that, practicing material. But a lot of the folks that get involved in stand-up comedy, they are highly, highly, highly opinionated, very pretentious. And if you do not have the same worldview that they do, for instance, me being a conservative, since I didn't fall in line with the supposedly supposed to be like, liberal of sorts, I would get ostracized by people that even weren't that funny.
Yeah, what is that all about, man? I wrote something. I write stuff on my. I get punished by Facebook all the time, and it's like, really, this is what happened to free speech. This is America, I thought, and so I'm fighting to make it still America. I hate free speech. I mean, I love free speech. I hate, banning talk. I think you should be able to say whatever. And I say whatever I want to say. It gets me in trouble. My mouth gets me in trouble a lot. And again, the same circle of people ostracize me because I have my views, and I didn't even realize I was this conservative. I used to get all my news from, Jon Stewart, and I love Jon Stewart. I used to get all my news from The Daily Show, and now they got this Trevor Noah guy, and ever since Trump became president, I love Trump as a president. I never watched any of his other stuff, and ever since 2016, everybody became a pussy, dude. I don't know what that. Can we cuss on the show, by the way?
Yeah, no, this is
free speech, right? But yeah, I don't get it, man. Everybody became a pussy in 2016, and it's like, wait a minute, you guys, really? This guy, you're hate. Why? I couldn't understand. I still don't understand what the hate is. He slayed right from the onset. He slayed the politically correct dragon. You would think as a comic that would be a champion for us, right? but everybody hates him for some reason. I just don't understand that. This guy is awesome to me. He talks, and he's about as American as you get. You know, he's like a litmus test of America. You know, and so I don't understand what the pushback on him is. Yeah, he's great to me. You know, I mean, yeah, he's not. I get it. If you're a little bit lily-livered, he's gonna offend you. But you know what? I'm not that kind of comedian, man. I'm kind of rough around the edges, and I'll say whatever. You know, if it TV comedy is not really my thing. You know, that's why I'm not anywhere now. I like to say the things I like to say, and if it's funny to me, then I know it's funny. I make myself laugh just writing jokes. I don't even know where I come up with half of this stuff. So I just don't understand why they're all. Why is this stuff really offending you? He's to me, he's fighting for us. You know, I love, you know, it's just like Rocky, man. Way back in the 70s, Rocky, you know. Everybody loved Rocky. He was the champ, you know. And to me, I love an underdog story. I love it, man. This guy's still winning. He's fighting against everybody. He's exposing Congress for what they are, a bunch of jerks, a bunch of thieves, crooks, and liars. And he's a bullshitter, and people don't understand that. Yeah, well, Donald Trump lies and all this. It's like, yeah, he's bullshitting.
Yeah, it's called.
If you're taking anything a politician says seriously, there's something seriously wrong. You got a sick and twisted world perspective, as that used to be the thing to say.
Oh yeah. He's a braggadocious individual, but not to a point where it's like a terrible fault. You know, he's a true blue, kind of like the New Yorker type. I mean, that's how folks communicate. He communicates in a way that people are able to digest it. And what I find so funny, and it's really fleshed itself out in the past 4 years, is that people pretend now that they've never conversed in a manner that the sitting president communicates. You know, all of a sudden they're gasping and clutching their pearls, as though they've never said anything to the tune or phraseology that President Trump uses. I don't understand that. I mean, it's laughable just how much folks have pretended like they are you know, just absolute saints.
Yeah, it's so self-righteous. I don't get it, man. It's like, again, he's about as American as you get. We say whatever the hell we want, and that should be an endearing thing to you, especially comics, man. He's a champion of free speech as far as I know. You know, as far as I'm concerned, he's what's up, man.
Yeah, and
I've said way worse things than he'll ever have said. I've said way worse things than he's ever said. And I still get, you know, again, the comics, some of them hate me because of some of the shit I've said, but a lot of them get it, man, because I can bring a joke, and I take risks, man. I'll take risks. You take risks too, man. I've heard you. And that's what it's about, man. We take risks as comics, you know. Sometimes it bites you in the ass. Hey, if you're not getting bitten in the ass once a week, you're not trying. You're not trying. And I'm not saying offend there, because there's ladies, you know, there's little old ladies that I love with all my heart. I wouldn't want to offend them, but, you know, at the same time, it's like, come on, really? He's exposing the hypocrisy. And I was never into politics. Like I said, I got all my political news from The Daily Show. And again, I still love Jon Stewart. Yeah, he's as liberal as you get, but if you watch that video where he's like fighting for the firefighters and the first responders from 9/11, dude, which really kind of changed the world for us. You know, I remember when that all happened clearly. I was on my way to work, late. I was late for work. Not that, for prospective employers, I'm not usually a late guy. But I got to work. I'm running into work kind of late that day, and I'm the only one out there in the work area. And when that happened, man, everybody was in the break room showing how the plane crashed into the towers. So we were in there for like 15, 20 minutes just seeing what was going on, because obviously 9 o'clock in New York is 6 o'clock when we started here. And man, that was kind of a world-changing event. And that kind of got me really in tune to what's really going on in the world, which again, I have my little conspiracy theories about that, but for the most part, yeah, I was all for it. You know, I was all gung ho for America. It's like, oh, you're gonna touch us? You're gonna fuck with us? You got something else? Don't you remember World War II, motherfuckers? You're gonna mess with us? It boggles the mind. It's like, and people still, I mean, even to now, with the political scene that it is now, and don't get me wrong, like, again, it's been 20 years, it's been 19 years, and I see a lot of warmongering going on. You know, I don't like that. I've never been about, killing somebody else just so we can get rich. I thought, hey, we're out defending people that can't defend themselves, That was my naive view of America's role. I mean, we shouldn't really police the world, but at the same time, I've always been kind of brainwashed to the idea of that we're the good guys, We're Americans, man. We're the good guys. We'll go in, and yeah, again, it was a naive perspective, but they called us when they needed help. People still, they're clamoring to come in here with the whole thing, again, Donald Trump, build the wall. Fuck yeah, let's work towards build the wall, because, realistically, logistically, you just can't have everybody come in. And then you get these freaking politicians that want to give away the country for free. Well, who's not going to want to come here, Well, you can't just have that, You can't just invite someone in your house. You can invite someone in your house, come have some coffee. Fuck, I'd be more than happy to be. I like everybody. Come have some coffee, man. But don't just come in and raid the cabinets and the freaking fridge,
Well, yeah,
don't bring your fucking cousins and everybody in. You got to do it the right way. We have laws for a reason.
Well, yeah, and one thing that I've always found interesting is, how folks have correlated the notion of establishing a physical barrier between our country and any bordering countries, which would obviously be, southern border, which would be Mexico, northern border Canada. I've kind of laughed at the idea that the correlation has been made by establishing said physical barrier. It is somehow racist. And number one, Mexican isn't a race. It's a country. That's the first thing.
The funny thing is, we're the most diverse country in the entire earth.
Yeah. No, I mean, take a look at our international sports teams, or even, whenever we have like an international soccer team that goes and plays different countries. When you see the team that assembles like maybe our soccer teams, or if we put together one of the Olympic basketball teams, it is literally a picture of the melting pot that is the American experiment. But whenever we're facing off against other countries in any international sports endeavor, we're always facing something that is very picture perfect of an ethnocentric territory. You go against Japan, their sports team looks all Japanese.
Pretty much. They pretty look Asian to me.
Yeah, you play Mexico in soccer, spot the Caucasian. That's
that's the thing. I grew up in LA, right? Like I was telling you, as a kid, all my cousins, they all went out. We went to the park. They took us as kids. We'd run around and whatever, and we'd played in the park and whatever. But it was always to go to a soccer game. I don't know why I never picked it up. I've never really been a sports kind of guy. But yeah, my family in LA had a soccer shop where they sold soccer shirts, soccer sports attire. And it used to be a little convenience store at one time. And when I went back later on, many years after, we lived here for a while, they turned it into a soccer sports shop, which is kind of made, but it's always been a thing. And I just never picked it up. My cousin loved football, American football. Soccer is one thing. See, I don't call world soccer football. I call it soccer, man. The rest of the world calls it football, which is, I guess, more apropos. It is actually a sport where you're just using your feet, which makes sense. But football to me is American football. Nice long oblong ball. I love the LA Rams. I used to have those peachy little folders that I used to always draw the Rams helmet on our little peachy folders and stuff. It's always been football's always been American.
I was a crazy Rams fan.
Yeah, well, and now they're back there, so.
Now, one thing that has been funny, especially in the past few months, we've seen a culmination of things with regard to the political spectrum. The first being that certain theories have been dispelled regarding Trump's ascendancy to the White House. And second, we've seen that the moral compass that was touted by the far left during 2016 in the past few years has clearly been a facade in certain realms. So I'll dive into the first part. A lot of folks said that Trump was able to get into the White House because he's rich and so on and so forth. And so he was able to kind of buy his way into it. Well, we found that theory to be complete bullshit. And that experiment was run with the Democratic Party, and Mike Bloomberg, who is considerably richer than Donald Trump, couldn't even get through the primaries.
Isn't that funny?
Democratic Party. So explain that to me. I mean, what are your thoughts? Because I'm pretty sure you heard the rumors, especially after 2016 happened, that Trump was only able to do it because he's rich. What are your thoughts on that complete nonsense getting debunked due to the Bloomberg shenanigans?
Well, here's the thing. Bloomberg aside for just a moment, wasn't the American idea? Wasn't that part of the American dream? Wasn't that the thing? The American dream. What was the American dream when you talk to people 15 years ago? Say a few years when I've been in the company, your American dream was, you want to be a celebrity, you want to be rich. Well, you don't become rich by having a big stack of carrots. You get rich selling carrots, but you know what? Or diamonds, I guess you want to call those carrots. That's obviously a different carrot, but you want to be rich, man. Money can't buy me love. Okay, we come from my mother from the '60s. My exposure to the Beatles music. Okay, can't buy me love. That's a nice hippie ideal. My mother was really never a hippie, but money can't buy you love. But in the reality is, money can't buy you happiness. Horseshit. You don't know how to shop. Money is the thing that makes the world go around. That's a nice little Liza Minnelli cabaret song or whatever. But yeah, money's not gonna buy you happiness, but money is certainly gonna lube the vehicle to happiness.
Yeah,
you want to see it that way. So as far as bagging on him, because that to me sounds a lot like jealousy. It's like, okay, well, the haves and the have-nots. I get that idea. I get it. As a younger man, I understood. There are haves and there are have-nots, and you know what? We live pretty poor, and I know a lot of people that have lived poor. Nobody I've known was rich right from the onset. Yeah, I've lived in some pretty rough parts of town. Nobody was rich. Even our bosses weren't really rich. I mean, it seemed rich to us. But again, people dump on the rich, but guess what, man? Rich people are the ones that put you to work. So there's no economy. There's nothing without rich people. People like to dump on the rich. They're greedy. Well, you know what? If they're so greedy, why are they giving you a job? Why is it not just slavery? No.
Oh yeah, Thomas Sowell.
Giving you an opportunity, and people want to dump on the rich because without even taking into account that the rich, they're investing their money. If a company goes down, they've lost their investment. It's real easy to see them as rich, but you know what? You want to fight for them too, because you're fighting for them. You're fighting for yourself. You're fighting for your family. You're feeding your kids. I don't have any kids, but you're fighting for your family. So if you work for a rich person, you got to consider yourself fairly lucky, because they're the ones really investing until you become rich, and then you put your money on the line. Then you've got shit to lose,
Well, yeah, no, it's good when we have, I know there's a huge push against concentrations of wealth. Oh, concentrations of wealth. Concentration of wealth can be a good thing if it's one person directing the traffic of said wealth. Now, a lot of the millionaires, multimillionaires, multi-billionaires, they didn't get rich by stealing people's money. They didn't get rich by putting a gun to somebody's head and saying, empty your wallet. You got your Bill Gates types of folks that, took the command prompt system. Because I remember when computers were command prompt and all you had was just that little blinking light. You had DOS. All right.
Yeah.
And, you know, Bill Gates comes around and says, hey, why don't we create a user interface so that everybody can practically use a computer? And everybody loved it so much, everybody started getting computers. You know, you
And
went
thank
from...
God for that, because look where we're at now. Look, we're doing this on a phone. I don't know what you've got a setup. I'm doing this right on my phone. Who would have thought everyone would have a phone when I was growing up? I thought having a beeper was only something drug dealers had. You know, now everybody...
those first
person has
phones that came out in the late 80s, when they were, what, $6,000 for a cell phone? And
you had to have a Corvette or a Mercedes or a BMW that had a phone, and you had it in your car. You didn't just walk around town with a big block cell phone like they had back in the days. But you know what? We've advanced as a society. The poorest person now has a phone.
Yeah, yeah. And even, you know, in modern poverty by, you know, American standards, you know, even those that are considered to be in poverty, they may have 1, 2, or 3 televisions in their home. And that's, you know, investing right there. And the TVs were considerably better, considerably cheaper. I remember when VCRs were $800.
Shoot, I'm old enough to remember when there was no such thing as a VCR. But we did have 3 TVs. God bless my grandmother. I'm like 3rd generation American on my grandma. My mother was born in Pasadena, California, so I'm 3rd generation. My mother was a little old lady from Pasadena. Not really. She didn't like the Beach Boys that much. She loved the Beatles a lot better. But that's the thing. My grandmother worked at GE. So we did have 3 televisions, man. But I tell you what, in my grandmother's room, she had the 2 beds, and then she had the black and white TV. But we were fucking styling, dude. My aunt, it's Mexican family. We had my aunt, my grandmother, my cousin, and my sister and myself, and my mom. We all lived at the house in California on Hill Street. And we had 3 TVs. We weren't rich. Hell, I didn't even know we were poor. You know, we always had food to eat. It wasn't what you don't know you don't have. Doesn't seem like poverty when you have what it takes, you know?
Well, yeah, the interesting thing is, you know, with the existence of you know, billionaires, you know, like your Trumps and, you know, and your Jeff Bezoses and your Bloombergs and all that, people think that just because they exist that somehow they're taking from their life. I, at no point, have ever felt like anything from my life was taken, you know, financially. Like, everything that I have, that I've worked for. And I've never felt like there was any day in my life that it was completely ruined because somebody has a copious amount of money. Their existence isn't taking away my ability to generate wealth, nor is it really taking anyone's ability in the country to generate wealth. Wealth is merely, money is a representation of wealth. Wealth is created, you know.
I don't have a wife and kids, you know. And for someone that has nothing, because some people, their family is everything, myself included, I have my family, but I don't have wife and kids. I could be the poorest person on earth by some person's perspective. But am I jealous that they have a wife and kids? I just haven't gone out and got that for myself. You know, I went my own path, so to speak. So yeah, I could be the poorest person on the planet because I don't have these things. On the other hand, I've heard a lot of my married friends with the wife, bad marriages, and their fucking snotty kids, and they're jealous of me because I don't have these heartbreaker kind of fucking things going on in their life. Why are you jealous of me? You got you got a family, you got a wife and kids. You've got it going on. I feel like a loser because I don't have these things, but it's what your perspective is. You know, Americans, we're the want machine, you know? So whatever people, you know, whatever they don't feel they have, then they feel like they're slighted in some way. And that's part of the problem today, you know? It's like, you're not making it work harder if you want that free time, you know? Try not to want at all. Enjoy what you do got, you know? You're neglecting your wife, so you feel like you're in a bad marriage. Well, you know, cherish your wife, cherish your kids. You got it way better than a lot of people do. There's some people that have lost their kids in bad marriages and get divorces where it's very acrimonious. And, you know, you didn't enjoy the parts where it was very loving. You should have kept that going. You didn't work hard enough to keep it loving, you know? And a lot of that is society. Society has a lot to do with that, you know. Again, we're the want machine. We're America. It's a double-edged sword, you know.
Now,
You
one
bitch
thing I
because you
wanted
don't have something, but you don't appreciate the things you do have, and that's on everybody's own thing, and that's their own fault in a way.
now
Learn to appreciate.
one thing I wanted to touch on with you. Obviously, you have strong opinions with regard to COVID-19, the adverse effects on the economy, but also the other things that are transpiring around it. It's not just economic impacts, and it's not just, you know, the doom and gloom and the fear associated, you know, with the Kung flu. Uh, but, you know, recently we've seen a strange thing happen. Federal Bureau of Prisons, jails, and state prisons have been releasing thousands of inmates, either awaiting trial or people that are already convicted due to concerns of the spread of COVID-19, which, I mean, being a former prison inmate myself, I can kind of understand the desire to do something like that because, yes, prisons and jails can be a hotbed for infection. However, while that is happening, at the same time that we're letting convicted criminals and people awaiting trial out of prison over COVID-19, we are arresting people and putting them in jail, or they're facing time in jail as well because of COVID-19. You know, we have those.
They want to go to church just because they want to freedom of religion.
That's yeah. Well, I mean, we had the
number one, right?
We had the honeymooners in Waikiki, Hawaii, that were arrested the day after they got some pizza. They got some pizza and they left the hotel again, and they were told, "You can't leave the hotel. You're visiting Hawaii, and you have to stay in the hotel for 14 days." And it's like, let me get this straight. You can vacation in Hawaii, but you have to stay in the hotel for 14 days when you arrive there, even though you're not exuberating any flu-like symptoms. We had Don Denley, owner of the Hungry Tiger in Manchester, Connecticut. He's facing up to a year in jail because he had one person getting takeout in his bar and restaurant and two other people that were having a beer while inside. And you got Matt Myers, Apex Tattoo Factory in North Carolina, arrested, facing up to 60 days in jail for opening up his tattoo shop. Shelley Luther, the owner of Salon a la Mode in Dallas, Texas, was sentenced to 7 days in jail and a $3,500 fine for opening up her nail salon. So we're putting people in jail because
they want, just for the crime of wanting to make a living, supporting their family. Ooh, evil fucking people. It's fucking ridiculous. I do have strong opinions about that. You know, somebody sent me a little Facebook thing saying that, you know, it was a meme or whatever, but they're talking about, it was the point of it was, you know, they get to make their money in Congress, right? By telling us not to go to work. Meanwhile, they're still getting paid. So you guys get to make a living, but fuck us. A lot of this is a power thing. People, and I am a little bit biased, man. I attribute that to the left, you know? They just want control. They bitch about Donald Trump, you know, power hungry and all this, but you know what? He's really fighting for us. And you're just mad because you don't have the control over people to tell them what to do. You know, fuck you. You're a fucking Nazi as far as I'm concerned, you know? I know that gets thrown around. I hate to throw that word around because even I and the rest of them that throws that word around willy-nilly, they don't know history, man. They don't know that the Nazis were evil. You know, it breaks my heart because I watched Saving Private Ryan, right? That movie, there's a couple of parts that always put a lump in my throat. And yeah, that's a fictitious story and everything. But you know what? Whether or not it was the greatest generation, it was definitely, they're fighting what we don't have. Thank God we don't have to face that. We don't have to go out and, I mean, God bless our military, but I haven't had to go out and kill a bunch of Nazis that are, you know, oppressing an actual, you know, hurting people. But we live in a charmed time. And people they want to make trouble when there's really it's not as bad as it was back then. We were a charmed society. And so, but the power hungriness of the left is just outrageous. It's inexcusable, man. The guy that you hate, and that's a theory of mine. They hate him so much because he's exposing their hypocrisy, man. Notice all the people, even the news, all the people hate him because they're guilty of 1984. You know that book, 1984.
Yeah.
They're causing that shit to actually happen. You know, they want to control people. That's pretty evil, man. I've always wanted to just be free, you know, be free to myself. That's why I'm kind of an off the grid kind of guy, you know. I get the most amount of freedom that I can enjoy.
Oh, good. People's a great place, and
desire to control other people, that's pretty fucking dubious, and that's fairly evil in my book. You know, I don't care what other people do. I have my opinions about what other people do, but you know, am I telling them to stop? Not my place, man. Just don't tell me to stop what I'm doing, you know. Now, if I'm hurting other people, yeah, by all means. And when I say hurting, like I said, my mouth gets me in trouble. Just because I'm upsetting some people with my words, guess what? Freedom of speech, man. First Amendment.
Yeah.
I'm not hurting you. The things I say shouldn't make you go commit suicide, because that's something wrong with you. If something,
what do they call that?
Something I say hurts you, then
soul.
you've got something wrong within yourself, because nothing I say, a nobody, an off the grid kind of guy, if you got problems with something I've got to say, you've got way worse problems than anything I've got to say. Because basically all I got to say is opinions. I'm not going to go in your house and tell you how to cook your fucking eggs, dude. Cook fucking, have scrambled, have sunny side up. I don't like sunny side up, but I'm not going to tell you to eat scrambled. I don't give a shit, dude. It's your life, man. Just don't try to fucking make ways for people that want to control you. Don't grease the wheels for them.
Well,
it's
one
not
thing
right.
you mentioned, you mentioned, you made a comparison with regard to kind of the Gestapo-esque tendencies transpiring in response to the pandemic. One thing that I am concerned about is police are kind of caught in the middle of this. So you have some police departments and sheriff's departments that are saying, hey, we want nothing to do with this enforcing social distancing. We don't want to arrest people for that. And then you have other police departments and officers. We've seen the viral videos of them going to people's houses because they committed the egregious crime of letting their children play at a friend's house. You know, two consenting adults have their kids play together. And it's going to create, it will inevitably create more disdain between the law enforcement community and the greater populace, which there's already a strained relationship between the population and law enforcement. There's always been one. But now you're going to see people that have traditionally supported law enforcement start distancing away because, you know, those also happen to be the type of people that are constitutional conservatives or centrists that love the Constitution. And when the lawsuits start coming, and they realistically will, once all this madness stops and people come to their senses, you're going to see lawsuits against governors, against police departments, sheriffs.
Well, nobody's ever liked the lawyers.
Oh yeah, but the lawyers are going to get real popular. And
well, we need them. Let's be honest, you know.
Yeah,
there's a real self-check when you realize, hey, your actions are there can be consequences to your action, and the lawyers are really on the front lines in that sense.
Well,
but
yeah.
As far as police go, you know, they are. You know, first of all, when your house gets robbed, guess who you call? You don't call the garbage men. You don't call the paramedics, and God bless the paramedics for what they do, but you call the police. Now, there are dick cops. I'm not saying there's not. You know, there's those guys that they're fucking disrespected hall monitors that become cops, and then they turn into cop dickheads because they're out there. I'm not saying they don't exist. On the other hand, we don't know their perspective either. If we hadn't had to go police an area that's riddled with crime and have to deal with the shit they have to go through, people forget. Oh, I was just having fun. Well, you know, your fun just killed a couple of people. Your fun just took away from what their hard work. your fun got them robbed. You know, it's always, everybody's got this short-sighted view of the world. You know, there's you got to look at things in the third person perspective always. There's your side, there's my side, and then there's the truth. And people can never take away themselves. They get stuck at the my side and never go to that third person perspective. Well, how is my behavior fucking up shit, you know? How am I? Yeah, I feel justified. Everybody feels like they're in the right. The guy that I feel is wrong, he feels he's in the right. The guy that feels I'm wrong, I obviously feel I'm in the right. But you got to take away, you got to look at things in a third person perspective. Well, you know what? Maybe I'm not, you got to question yourself. Maybe I'm not justified. Maybe I'm not as right as I think I am. So if you look at the cops, you know, yeah, like I said, there are some dick cops, but to fucking paint them all to be Nazis, you know, there's a fucking huge difference between the Nazis and our police.
Oh yeah.
Most of our police are noble people. They're doing stuff that you're not willing to do.
Order of law enforcement, and would I dare compare them to Nazis? Absolutely not.
No, it's a big giant difference. You're comparing apples because, yeah, in a sense, they were upholding the law. Their laws were fucked up. Remember, they were doing what was legal for them, but their laws were fucking corrupt and wrong and fucked up. And you know, they paint everybody all, you know, they paint Donald Trump a Nazi, but you know what? The Nazis were kind of brought up by the left. Even in Germany, when it all started off, that was a lefty kind of thing until they took power. And that's the thing people forget. You can't just let these lefties take power, you know? So they don't make room for the other side.
You know, with regard to, because we actually have seen arrests of, you know, like in New York, they started arresting people for not socially distancing from each other in certain areas, and you're seeing people get arrested for that.
I blame a lot of that. I blame a lot of that on this safe space culture. With whatever they're teaching in the universities, sorry about the cuss word, but it's the faggotization of the United States. And I'm not with that at all. Well, I just watched this Dennis Prager thing today, right? I watched Dennis Prager, and he was talking about there are no safe spaces, man. Yeah. Safe space, waiting for something to become safe it's never going to happen. Never happen.
The notion of until it's safe is a silly one. What I want to know is, do you think time will be kind to departments that were heavily enforcing social distancing arrests? Do you think time will be kind to them for what I would call the Nuremberg defense? I don't know if you remember that.
No, yeah. Oh, I was just following orders.
Just following orders, you know, or as they said in Germany, what was it? Beifall ist Beifall.
Well, okay, and again, it's just a movie, great movie, A Few Good Men. You know, they were found guilty of Code Red, right? They were found innocent, but it's just like the one soldier, the guy more in charge, who the other guy followed. They should have known better. You don't just follow orders; you got to also protect the weak, and they don't do that. So if you're victimizing people that are just trying to make a living, guess what? You didn't think about it far enough.
And that's one of my biggest concerns is the fallout after this, because there are police caught in the middle and they're divided. You know, you have the sect that are saying, listen, we don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. If you, governor, want to find a way to enforce this, have at it. And then you have other departments that are saying we're social distancing arrests in full effect. And I'm concerned that, you know, beat cops that are torn, you know, that they don't know what is the right thing to do. And
they know, but, you know, again, they have consequences. You know, they got a family to feed as well. They don't want to jeopardize their, you know, giving them trouble. You're taking away from their ability to feed their family. Everybody has a family to maintain. That's what makes us a society. The society is not just made up of off-the-grid motherfuckers like me. The society is basically families that have to live in a community. But anytime you're breaking down the community, there's problems there. Now the police have families. They got marriages. They got kids. They want a better life for their families. So you got to take that super into account, man. That you can't just look at them as they're not just hired guns. You know, they have to live here too. You know. And why should anything we do supersede anything they do? Just the way like what they do can't supersede what we do. Because, you know, okay, they police everything, but, you know, if they've arrested all the shop owners, guess what? They just can't go into the fucking shops and get for free food. They'll have no one to buy food from. They'll have nowhere to shop. It's got to be a cooperation, man. You can't just say you're going to solve the problem by getting rid of this guy just because you don't like what he's doing. Mm-hmm. You know, that dollar store, you arrested all their employees. Well, guess what? You can't go buy shit. You can't go buy Clorox to clean your bathrooms, keep you safe, healthy. You know, everybody makes a way. You know, and you know, well, you can't just go close down Walmarts and Targets, man. You gotta allow for them to make it possible for you to go do your thing. You know, again, I got high respect for cops. I got a higher respect for our military. You know, we wouldn't have any of this, even this ability to just talk about what's going on, first and foremost, with our military. You know, we'd have nothing without them. You know, and the cops, it's the Old West. You know, a lot of innocent people died in the Old West. You know, we'd still be living in fucking saloons and shit, and maybe brothels would be cool, but that shit would be getting old because, you know, that'd be ruining your family. You know, there's a give and take to everything. If you're lonely, yeah, you might not commit suicide because you got laid and got it out of your system, but then you don't really have a fulfilled life if you don't have a wife and kids. You know, you can't just, it's a mixture of everything, you know. Shit, sometimes a hooker might save a marriage. You never know. You know? I don't see that, but I'm sure that's been the case on sometimes, you know. It's not moral, it's not right, but at the same time, people have made changes after making mistakes. You gotta give people the ability to make the mistake. You don't learn, just like in anything, man. You don't succeed without failing first. That's a part of human growth, man. You got to be allowed to make those mistakes. Now, if my mistake is, you know, I'm going to shoot everybody in here and take their shit, well, that's not a mistake. That's evil. There's a big difference.
Now, one thing, you know, I'm a numbers guy. And so I've been monitoring the results of the pandemic. And some things aren't adding up for me. You know, we were told time and time again that COVID-19 is extremely contagious, far more contagious than the flu. But what confuses me is, you know, 2017, 2018 flu season, CDC estimated that there were 45 million cases of the flu in the 2017-2018 flu season, which, you know, transpires. It can last up until May, but the peak time is December to February. 45 million cases in the United States, with 61,000 fatalities. So if COVID-19 is far more contagious, because we've been told it's not even more deadly, it's also more contagious than the flu, why do we only have, it's 1.24 million estimated confirmed cases. And then they're pairing that along with the deaths of 72,800 Americans. But if it's more contagious, then it has to be in excess of 45 million people that have COVID or have had COVID in the United States. I mean, you know, they're trying to
We've had a pretty rapid response to the COVID-19. Again, we're living in times that aren't the usual how we've fought other diseases, other viruses, and other colds even. Now, what people don't always, it's real easy to simplify something, but when is simplifying something really going to give you all the answers? People aren't putting all the little factors in there, okay? For example, the shit that weakens your immune system, like the drinking, like the drug abuse, and all the other things that not fucking eating right, buying mass-produced fucking junk food and shit. People aren't taking that into account. What's that doing for your immune system, you know? How many people are actually, there's a lot of vegetarians, a lot of vegans and stuff, but not everybody. The majority is still eating meat. The majority of people are eating junk food. The majority of people are still drinking and smoking weed. You know, that none of this shit is fucking, I don't know how much of it strengthens your immune system, because I believe stuff that doesn't kill you makes you stronger also plays into account to some degree. And they're getting some of the factors right, like the age and the, you know, the other pre-existing
and
health
yeah,
conditions.
No, literally, that's immunology 101 in terms of what doesn't kill you can, in fact, make you stronger.
On the other hand, are you taking those things into account? You know, you smoke, we just legalized marijuana within the last 5 years, right? 5-10 years. People have been smoking it for way longer than that, and they've come through other diseases just fine. But, you know, in regards to the here and now, we've got more people smoking weed on a regular. Maybe people that smoked weed before weren't smoking it as much now because it's not a big thing now. Now you've just weakened your immune system. You do more drinking. Everything you do weakens your immune system. If you don't expose yourself to germs, that's going to weaken your immune system. You got to expose yourself to some of the shit. Now, am I saying go out and catch the COVID? Go find someone and lick their fucking hands? Yeah, you probably don't want to do that. I mean, there's commonsensical stuff like washing your hands. You don't overexpose yourself, but you got to expose yourself to some degree. I mean, I've heard lots and lots of stories. Yeah, to me, the numbers on COVID aren't even the same amount of numbers as you get with other flus and other viruses. And there's a lot of people coming out of, they get these diseases and they're coming out okay. They're coming through with it like it was just like a regular cold and flu season.
Yeah,
so what are we to believe?
That's the confusing thing. I mean, there's so many strange numbers at play, because if we only take a look at the confirmed cases versus the confirmed fatalities of COVID, you know, it can paint a picture of like, hey, you know, there's approximately a 5%, you know, mortality rate with regard to COVID in cases in the U.S. It's like, if we had 45 million cases of the flu, and COVID-19 is far more prevalent in how it spreads, and even though we've enacted social distancing, we haven't really changed our way of life. We've just changed the venue. You know, yeah, I can't go to Chili's and sit down at a restaurant, and I can't catch a movie at a Harkins Theater, but I can still go into Walmart, Home Depot, Sam's Club. I'm still interacting with people as much as I normally would.
Well, you know what?
Places.
You still go to the grocery store. You're still handling vegetables that other people have touched. I mean, I'm not saying everybody has COVID, but you would think that would be the first place that, you know, you bite into an apple, and good sense tells you to clean the apple before you eat it, but you're still biting into something that someone else has touched. There's no getting away from the germ, man. You're going to catch one or the other. If it's not that, one thing I kind of like about this is maybe it's teaching people to be a little more clean, a little more. I said this COVID spreading, it's a little joke of mine. I said this COVID spreading like it is around the world because the fucking planet's full of skanky people. And again, that's an over fucking simplification. But if anything, the good comes out of this trying time is to teach people to be a little more clean. Wash your hands. Don't cough. You know, I've always coughed into my shirt. I coughed into my shirt in front of a germaphobe guy, and he thought that's not going to stop it. And he was like I was fucking spreading COVID before COVID was even a thing. It's like, wash your hands, you know? Don't fucking sneeze and then wipe your boogers on your shirt and then fucking go lean up against someone. That's not good, you know? Have some modicum of self-respect. Wipe your nose. Wipe. Cough into a napkin or something. Carry around some fucking handy wipes, you know? People should be doing this anyway. It's not going to be doing for building up your immune system and all this, but, you know, it's certainly going to cut down the overexposure of nasty stuff that's out there. I mean, just because you fucking killed COVID-19, there's still hepatitis. There's still all the other shit that was killing us before this shit. Fucking up your liver and giving you cancer with, you know, well, cancer's a different thing. It seems a little more complicated, but, you know, cancer's been around since the Roman times. We still haven't found a cure for that. So nobody really knows what's causing other than smoking and whatever other things you're fucking your immune system up with, you know?
So I'm going to hit you with closing remarks, okay? We recently played host to hypocrisy from the modern left. And the hypocrisy comes in two forms lately. But we'll focus on the more, prevalent one that's easy to see. The Me Too shenanigans, Joe Biden. We saw the left freak out in 2016 over a hot microphone from like a 2005 interview on Access Hollywood, where all Trump was saying that is when you're a star, women will throw themselves at you. His phraseology was pretty unique. He said, when you're a star, you can do what they want. They'll let you do what you want. You can
grab them by the coochie, baby.
Now,
I'm a misogynistic pig, so my opinion doesn't really matter on this thing. But here's one thing you got to remember. As bad as whatever we are, we're men. Women don't understand it because they don't have the testosterone. Testosterone's a fucked up thing for men. We got to deal with that as well as other things. We don't have to deal with too much estrogen. That's something they've got to deal with. But here's the thing, man. You just can't stop men from being men. You could stop behavior. You don't have to go and don't go out and rape people. That's not right. We're a civilized society. Let's act like that. On the other hand, we're still men incarnate. We're still animals incarnate. It's not like we're bumping girls over the head with a fucking club and taking them back to our cave. We've come a long way as a society. When you see guys, the whole rape culture, oh, fuck, that's all bullshit. Go to a fucking Islamic country where there is a real rape culture, where there's real crimes against,
well, in those countries, rape is part of the culture.
We're kind of babied here. We've got it so easy that we don't really. That's kind of the things that comics understand, and it pisses me off about liberal comics is they should understand this more than anybody. The reason we go to humor, the reason men are better at humor than women, not all of them, but because we have to go fight the wars, we have to go police the streets, we have to do the work, we have to build the buildings and watch our friends die because we're building a skyscraper, or we're because we get into a car accident because we're out in the streets more. So we have to deal with these horrible things that it's life, man. Bad things happen in life. If you want to go hide in a safe space, you'll never be able to be a complete human being. You'll never have a happy life because you're going to be afraid all the time. That's no way to go through life, is being afraid all the time. And so humor, we deal with these ugly situations. I make rape jokes. That's not a good thing. I don't go out and rape. I don't even date. I haven't had a girlfriend in God knows how long. I won't even embarrass myself by saying how long it's been. But it doesn't mean I'm going to go out and rape just so I can get my rocks off.
Well, what do you think of?
It's such an absurd concept that I have to make fun of it because it's such a horrific thing. If you don't deal with it somehow, you'll go mad. So if I make a rape joke, yeah, if you get offended, sorry. But guess what? It's something that's ugly in society that if you don't deal with it in some way, and the way we deal with it is with humor, then it's going to fucking drive you crazy. Even more crazy than being on lockdown for a couple of months.
Well, yeah, no, what I wanted to gather your thoughts on for the closing remarks is what do you think about the hypocrisy regarding liberal outrage in the 2016 hot mic fiasco with Trump, and yet there are credible threats and an actual victim coming forward alleging that.
Pretty obvious, man. I mean, if you can't see it, and I don't understand why they would. There was no evidence with Kavanaugh, and there's plenty of evidence with Joe Biden, but they don't want to talk about there now because that's their guy.
Well, yeah. Well, the funny thing is,
and a lot of that has to do with
talking about a hypothetical pussy being grabbed, and in Joe Biden's case, there's a woman saying he literally grabbed me by the pussy.
Seriously, but here's the difference. Here's the thing. Trump will say they'll let you grab him by the pussy. He's not saying, hey, just go grab him by the pussy against their will. That wasn't said at all.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this guy in power, again, Bill Clinton's another one, he's doing it against their will. You understand? That's big hypocrisy there. You're not calling out on these guys who are using their power to do whatever they want against girls' wills, against women's will. Meanwhile, Trump's an opportunist. Hey, fuck it. If someone told me I can grab their pussy because they thought I was famous, goddamn right, I'm gonna be fucking. Everybody's gonna be smelling my fingers because I'm gonna be grabbing those pussies. But I'm not gonna be grabbing them against my will, against their will. That's retarded. That's the fucking. Therein lies the fucking wall. On this side, it's against their will. On this side, it's opportunistic. Now, if you don't like the fact that he's an opportunist, well, guess what? Welcome to the world. Because your little hypocrisy, I guarantee you, it's just like that comedian does a joke. Greg Giraldo does a joke. If they don't understand when Tiger Woods, what he did. Oh, he's a monster because he went and got plenty of girls that gave him the pussy, right? But if a guy came to your fucking hotel room and gave you lots of shoes and showed you, oh, there's lots of shoes, shit that you like, I guarantee you'd be getting some of those shoes. You'd be getting a fucking pair of shoes here and there. So that's the thing. It's just because you don't like it, you can't judge someone else for taking advantage of an opportunity that's presented to him. Maybe that girl's got fucking issues, but she's not. Maybe she's trying to trick him. That's not good. But if he's stupid enough to fall for it, fucking let him get that shit. I'll go smell his fingers from him. He'll be like, oh yeah, I guess you did. But I'm not gonna go and fucking take some person off the street against their will, grab him by a snatch, and then look at I'm a fucking against their will. It's not the same thing at all. It's not at all the same thing. One's by force, the other one's by opportunity.
Exactly.
And that's an anti-American thing to judge someone for being an opportunist, because guess what? We're all opportunists. We're all opportunists. And if you don't want to face that reality about yourself, you're living in a turtle shell, man. Just go hide your head because you're not going to make it in life.
Well, I want to thank you again for taking the time to converse with me, exchange some ideas. Just a really great conversation. And I'm looking forward to when the comedy clubs open back up, so that way you can get back to work.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Oh man, hey dude, I tell you what, this again, people, when one door closes, the other one opens, and so this whole lockdown thing, there's other things happening, like these online open mics. I had a great open mic the other night when I talked to you. Not that I still don't bomb. I'm famous for I bomb more than anybody I know. But then I don't see other people bomb, and they might think they're slaying when the reality is we're bombing. But I had a good show the other night. And it was online. It was this Zoom thing. I hate that Chinese have some way to fucking look at our information through it, but whatever, man. It's a tool, and technology is going to drive us forward. Technology always drives society forward. For some things that we have to leave behind, like newspapers, technology still takes us. I mean, look at us. But God closed all the universities because you could still get the same amount of education on Google, online. I could spend about 5 years looking up how to do medical stuff, and I could be every bit as good as a doctor as a guy who's doing it other than actually finding willing people to let me operate on them and shit like that. I wouldn't do that. You still need some hands-on stuff to do medical stuff, but for the book smart stuff, you have access to the information. And this is a golden time we got to appreciate that we're living in, because we have the access to information, and we should feel really blessed. We should be really grateful that we have this. And this is why I fight against the people who go against free speech, because they're the first ones that are closing down the access to information. It's that simple, maybe that guy, you don't like what he says, but maybe he has a few nuggets of wisdom in there that I don't have access to now because he didn't like what he says, and now he's shut down. Now nobody has access to that. Free speech, man. There's a reason it's the First Amendment. Having faith in God. And you know what? You don't want to believe there is a God? Well, guess what? When we all die, we'll find out. There'll either be nothing or we'll have to go answer for a few things. I dread that time because I got to answer to a few things myself. I'm no angel.
All right. Well, I appreciate it once again. And we'll go ahead and sign off, man. And you enjoy.
Thank you, sir. Hey, man, keep up the good work, buddy. Do this. I like what you're doing here. This is driving society forward, man. Keep up the good work. God bless our servicemen. God bless our police agencies and the people that keep us safe and paramedics and all those guys. And you know what? God bless the fucking people serving food. May they get back to doing what they do best, you know, getting my order wrong so I can tip them.
Oh, shit. All right, brother. Well, you take care, all right?
Love you, man. Peace.
Peace.